Hello and welcome to Streamcast. It's your boy Trey. Today we're going to talk about a game that is on everyone's lips for both good and bad reasons. Forspoken. I'm going to give a very brief overview of what the game is. For those who don't know what it is, then you can skip that. I'm going to talk about the combat, the controls. I'm going to talk about the parkour elements, give my opinions on the characters thus far. Remember, people, we've not seen a lot of them, and then give you my overall feeling about the game towards the end. If you don't already know, we play as Frey, a young New Yorker, which they keep telling us that she's a New Yorker, so it must be important. I don't know why they keep telling us that. Normally background's important. I just want to see how this fits. So anyway, she's a young New Yorker and she gets transported to the land of Athia, which is supposed to be a beautiful place, which we'll talk about later. And pretty cruel, which we'll talk about later. Obviously, she's on her way home. We're trying to find her way back home. Likkle Spider-Man there, and for whatever reason something compels her to stay and fight for the people and fight against this matriarch who are called the Tanters. I like their designs, I'm just going to put that out there. I saw a little bit in the game, but I've seen it outside too. But let's jump into how I felt about the demo. One run through, but I will do another one. There's a reason for this. It's because some things were revealed online that may change my opinion, which I'll let you in on. It may change yours, it may not. But first things first, the parkour, something that they kind of told us, and I think everybody was like down for and ready for. I liked it, I'm going to be honest. I think it's a fun way to travel. Don't know why more games don't do this. Caveat, I would admit, I thought the parkour would be faster. It's slow, it feels like a sprint, and the sprint feels like a jog. I don't like that. That's what I don't like. I wish it was faster. I feel like they tried to add the motion blur to make it feel quick, almost like you're the Flash. Don't get me wrong, it's decent enough. I just thought it would be faster than what it is. And I feel like it works though really well with combat, which we'll talk about. Combat's great. I think let's specify the combat, the actual combat, the things you can do are great. I like the range of it. I like this kind of switch between range, almost weaker, and then your strength one, which is a bit slower and takes longer to like reload. I think that makes sense. I like the fact that the skill tree behind it just exposes you to so much. Like that thing when you hit the ground and you just burst into flames around you. I love the chaos. It's probably not I would have liked like a system, I guess, almost infamous. Like this what this game reminded me of a little bit in terms of the travel, a little bit. But like almost like the more you use one side, the worse you are, or the more you use the other side, the better you are as a person morally. But it's probably not like that. But I enjoyed that. What I did not enjoy was the actual control scheme. I have found later on you can change that. And my issue is this, Square Enix. From what I've seen, the change to be, why did you not start with that? Why did you start with this cumbersome control? It's so annoying. I don't understand. Why would you lay it out like that? Like, why? It kind of takes away from the enjoyment. I managed to enjoy it, but I like learning new things, right? Don't get me wrong, but this just felt like it felt long, and trigger buttons for attacking like that doesn't sit well with me personally. Range weapons, yes, I get, cool, but she just doesn't use it for range. The way you switch in and out, I just think it's long. There's a quicker way, as I've said, so I'll change that. But that was a big, I'm sorry, no. They need to change. When the game comes out, please reverse it. If we want to go through a struggle and make the game harder, we can change the buttons to that. We don't want to start with that one. Another issue I took was the texture. I think the place as it is looks fine. I was reading online that people felt it was empty. In the demo, it makes sense. It felt like this was a place that people didn't run out of because of all the dangers. So in my mind, I thought, why would people be here? But for some people, it felt like lifeless. I thought the life was fine. I couldn't see some of the enemies. I had a discussion with another member of Streamcast. He felt like it was meant to be that way. I was like, I'm not sure. I feel like they could have been clearer and some could have just been hidden. sometimes I didn't see an enemy just because color schemes and stuff. It was almost like they were clashing. I would love that to change the texture. It just looked rough. I don't know if that's a PS5 thing now, and we need to kind of have that conversation. Like, it's been 2 years. Why don't these developers, whoever, have the tech or whatever? Why is no one producing, or not enough games producing clear, crystal clear quality visuals? Like, even down to Gotham, Sonic was a bit rough in places. I don't understand. Like, the whole point of this new console was it's supposed to blow us away. There's very few games, if any, that visually I have felt blown away, which is a terrible shame. But this game's part of that, so it has to be brought up. I didn't mind the conversation. I didn't mind banter. What I did mind is we had no context. I think these are two characters you have to warm up to. I don't think you can just jump in and love them. I think there's different dynamics you get from characters. I feel like Atreus and Kratos, if we're going to use that example, because of the chemistry that comes from knowing what Kratos is and probably seeing that change, you kind of got an idea and a grasp. So then all you've got to do is learn Atreus. We'll learn 2 new characters, nothing about them, absolutely nothing. So all you know is someone swearing and they're talking, and you might not like their banter. I think this is going to be one of the most divisive points of the game. Luckily for people who don't like it, you can turn it down or off. Perfectly fine. I find it useful. So I am very much an amateur gamer. You know, I found this challenging, mostly because of the controls, but I found it a little bit challenging. So for me, just having Huff say things like, oh, there's an enemy over there, or where there was one I was going to and it pretty much warned me that there's levels to this and I'm not levels, which is fine. I hear it. It was hard to take, but I hear it. So that was useful, and I found that really, really useful in the game. But sometimes their banter went on for a little bit too long for me. Sometimes I liked it. But I feel like these are kind of, if you ever watched Wednesday on Netflix, it's like that. I feel like the characters you build up from the beginning. Like, when you jump into the story, you start to build the love and appreciation for them. But when you see them from the beginning, you probably want to tell them to F off. Well, yeah. Which is, I feel like it's part of character development. But because we, like I said, dumped into this random point, this is the dumbest for it completely. I don't feel like they got a fair shake. But that's me. Back to the texture and demos, the texture actually, because I said, so there was a second point that you can change. Apparently there's 6 modes. Did not see that highlighted once. Don't know why there's 6 modes. I would just like the one, please, where everything just looks nice and plays fine, but apparently we have to choose. So yeah, there's that. Cool, so, 6 minutes, that's good. I didn't want this to be long. That's what I want to talk about. So, do I feel excited about this game? I don't feel like the demo put the best foot forward, and I feel because of the pushbacks, I still believe one pushback was because they were clashing with God of War and they didn't want to get lost. That's my belief. I agree. I respect it. If you feel like you can't compete in this area, boy, you can try and stick it out or you can push it. It's an exclusive, so I think they needed the space. But I feel like this was a real chance to put down the marker on this game. It's going to be amazing. This is something you're going to love. You have to buy it, and I don't feel like they did that. Yes, I said I enjoyed it. I did. But I also enjoyed Control, and it's kind of in that element for me at the moment. You have your top games like your Horizons, your God of War. I'm looking at PlayStation games for this, etc., etc. And then you have your kind of second tier, like your Days Gone, your Control. I feel like Forspoken is going to fall into that. There's 2 reasons. Again, this demo doesn't help. The previews people are getting, I feel like they're getting different ones, isn't helping everyone. Okay, I think causing problems is the wrong way to phrase it, but I feel like people are going to dislike her for very trivial reasons. I think she's going to win over the majority, but I think on the face of it, and we've seen this before, she's already been weirdly judged. It's the swearing fine, but you can turn that down. That's something you can control. But I feel like she's going to be nitpicked at, like Aloy for her looks, Ellie for kissing another woman. I don't know what Control was, we just didn't see the point in that game, but there's always, especially with a female lead, this nitpicky stuff recently, and I feel like that's what's going to drop the category. Because let's be real, when you think of every winner, or the majority of winners of Game of Awards and all those kind of awards, it needs universal praise. I don't think this is going to get universal praise. And that's just because the main character potentially Cuff as well, but I think the dynamics is going to rub people. He's either going to rub people the wrong way because they just don't like the characters, which is fine, but I also feel like other people have agenda. We just have to be real about this point, because whether they want to hide from it or not, from what I've seen, it's definitely agenda. Again, there's issues like I've said, but when I played the demo, I did not feel the elements of the conversation was that bad. Because for one, I could tune out most of it because I was so into the combats. I don't understand why no one else can like adjust your volumes. Two, you could remove it. So it should have been like, oh, I don't like the conversations or the way that's written. But I could turn it down. I think it's a problem if in the cutscenes you don't like it because then it's the story. These little bits, if you can kind of get rid of or reduce, that's fine. So that'd be an issue again. Like the aforementioned, or the previously mentioned mains for other games feels to me, I'm going to be honest, trivial. I don't think you have to like this game, but, and I can see there's, like I said, if it's on how it looks and being disappointed, the controls and being disappointed, even the way it plays, the way it runs, I see it, and like I said, I get the dynamics being a problem, but I feel the hyper focus. I think that's where I'm landing. The hyper focus is weird. It's like that's what it reminds me of, this weird hyper focus on something that doesn't really need to be that hyper focus on. Especially if they'd known. It's the same with High on Life has come out recently, and this is basically the same thing, but it's such a different tone. Either you like the comedy or you don't, and if you don't, you can turn it down because the guns are always talking at you. That's it. That's the most I've got out of anyone, out of a review, or anything I've watched, out of the reviews, previews, talking, that's it. There's no hyper focus on it. It's either you like it or you don't, but you can still enjoy the story of the game, but the talking, the character interaction may be a bit too much for you, especially if someone like Morty's voice. I like Rick and Morty, so it's fine for me, but do you get what I mean? It could be as simple as that, but it's a weird hyper focus on it. So anyway, those are my thoughts, feelings, and 2 pence. You can also leave your 2 pence in a comment. You can say if I'm talking bullshit, if I'm just pissing you off, if I'm too optimistic, if I'm not optimistic enough. Let me know. I'd love to hear your opinions. For me, I'm not as excited as I was before. I think I overhyped it. I didn't have a comparison, but I think in my head I was thinking of something else. When I also feel like there's elements of this demo, I admitted it, and I would admit that would tone down the excitement. I still think it'll be an enjoyable game. What I've realised is some of the controls need to change, so that's why I need to play it again. But some of the other stuff is minor that I can just get through. No, it's not polished. I prefer it to be polished, but that shouldn't take away from my enjoyment. If I need to adjust my screen a little, I will. I think it's going to be a really good game. I think it'll be a really good game, and it would be a shame if we all miss out on something that is great. That's just my opinion. We'll catch you on the next video we do. I'm looking around because what are we going to do? Probably Pokemon, maybe WWE. I haven't decided yet. But yeah, you can check out one of our past videos somewhere on this screen here. I'm doing the Team Star sign, it seems. Yeah, and we'll catch you later.